Hey, you friends, Romans, Phoenicians, lend me your ears. I come to talk about Assange, not to praise him, nor to bury him, but just to contemplate about a little bit about what has gone on over the last, what is it, 10 years? 7 years. I just heard that he'd been arrested by the UK authorities, and I thought I'd jump in and toss my 5 cents in the stream. You know, when Julian Assange first came out as a whistleblower, I was impressed by the man, and when he went into the Ecuador embassy, I was like, I think the Americans are trumping up this charge of the rape thing and so on to try and get him to America, and I bought into all of that propaganda. But I was mindful that, the WikiLeaks came out bit by bit, drip by drip by drip by drip. And that has had to been troubling for me, or has been troubling for me, and hopefully it's been troubling for you if you're someone with a thoughtful mind on your shoulders, that you have considered that it's weird if you got given the list of who the criminals were, would you spend 5 years slowly letting that list out day by day, week by week? And who would be the person deciding which names and who you would name first and so on and so forth? So there's a lot of curiosities. Then you've got to allow for who is the media, and who is the media that's publishing this, and why is it one set of media will publish it and others won't pay any attention to it. And this is about getting people fighting. This is about getting people arguing. This is about getting people taking sides and either clamoring for the government, the mind control, to do more, do less, come clean, whatever. But it's funny how, we live in a world in which, Assange can say, I've got a whole lot of information, and the government will just wait until the newspaper presents that information before doing anything about it. We live in a curious world in which, someone might grow a plant and a neighbor complains about it and the police are all over that like stink on shit. But I can get the whole world on their tenterhooks, telling them that I have fantastic bombshell information that is relevant to all of humanity, and just sit on that for months and months and years. And then, of course, this sham of diplomatic immunity and so on. I mean, this is game playing at its finest, because we all know that governments get their license to operate from central command. There is only one issuing authority when it comes to licenses and governments, and who decides what lines are going to be drawn where on the map. It might take black operations, it might take hidden funding to get these things to happen, but by vote rigging and whatever means, they'll make sure that the outcome is always in the favor of this system. So why has Julian Assange now been arrested? I think, if I may say, I think that there is a growing. I have to be mindful that I'm in a fairly small community of people that think in this way that I do, but there's a growing sense that much more is being made open. Like there was the untimely death of a rapper in America a little while ago that really brought attention to Dr. Sebi and what he was talking about alternative medicines and the hopes of HIV or AIDS and how to cure it, stuff like that. So it brought a lot of mainstream folks to that. Then there was that dreadful business over in New Zealand that I call the Ides of March affair, which really brought the attention to, the people that are what sort of white nationalists. And then, of course, they are targeting, it seems, Yiddish communities in a few New York boroughs and New York in America, and they're trying to enforce some kind of martial law type vaccine program where everybody has to be vaccinated or can't use public facilities or this, that, the rest. Or if anyone near you has got it, then you kind of have to be forced to be vaccinated and inoculated and quarantined and you name it. I mean, they're trying to create some kind of Hollywood, you know, blockbuster out there, but doing it with a Jewish community. And you know, the people are seemingly becoming more aware. I was watching something from Content Over Everything from the weekend, and their guys are talking more about how the banking system is a complete scam and it's rigged and blah, blah, blah. And so is this Julian Assange thing just another kind of red flag to go up to get people to look again at stuff? To create that dialectic, he's a bad boy, he should be banged up, and he's that's the irony, is that, people are, there's an allegation that he may have had improper sexual conduct with people and a girl or two, and that's much more important to the drooling newspaper readers than there is a massive conspiracy that he's trying to unfold. He's trying to release certain bits of certain conspiracies, but nothing deep, nothing hugely deep. But still, the point is that people are far more interested in, oh, did he or didn't he do something in Sweden, than they are about, oh, and this is, there's a collusion, there's a deep state, there's a dark agenda that we're not being told about in the mainstream. There's stuff hidden. People are not that worried about that. They want this. They want the soap opera. So there's those who get their soap opera, and then there's those who get the kind of, right, he's let us know now Assange's secrets are out, and he must be legit because, they wouldn't have put a legit guy, a non-legit guy through all of this sort of stuff. How do you know that he doesn't, get through some underground bunker to the Ecuadorian embassy and then goes off to an island somewhere and then comes back and puts powder on his face and pretends he's been indoors for 5 years or something, So much of this is staged. It's really, you've got to know that this is all staged as well, this event, with him being arrested and being it'll be some injustice, and all the truth warriors, the left-wingers, will go, this guy's got the truth for us, follow him, he's got the truth, he's like the Pied Piper, the Malfoy character, the little ratty blonde dude from Harry Potter, he's that character, I think. Possibly, and he might well be that dark, because if he's been doing this, he's part of the deeper story, then he's definitely doing this from a dark point of view. He has that oiliness about him. So, if you, like me, I was an Assange kind of champion at some point, I have to say, unfortunately, there's just too much stuff that he's not saying. And the timeliness of what he does say makes no sense, really. It fits somebody else's agenda, not the truth teller's agenda. The truth teller would simply go, look, here it is. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to publish it. I'm going to get it out there on day one. I'm not going to string it out for years and years and years and only give you so much and make sure I protect certain people's identities and so on. I think the truth is the truth, and if you somehow accidentally got caught up in something like that, which is often the way with government employees, they don't really realize the greater game. They're simply the good boy who's done the right thing and answered the right questions all the way through for 40 years of his career, and now he's in a senior position being asked to do a certain thing. Well, that's just too bad. Or do we go, no, the truth isn't that important? we'd rather than besmirch your 40-year career and say that you got it wrong and you were part of a decision-making stream that caused a whole lot of heartache and hardship. We wouldn't want that. So we'll just let the story stretch out for years and not really tell them everything. Nope. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. If you're buying it, that's fine. I'm not buying it. What I am buying is that it does the old divide and conquer thing. It's dividing and conquering and keeping people in camps and restoking fires, and all of these events, the events I named earlier, all of these events and more are just constantly ramping up pressure and getting people to feel less and less in love with each other and more at odds with one another. And there's plenty of these Agent Smith Malfoy types skulking in their dark corners and carrying on as they do. And they will, I mean, that's the nature of this game or this beast, is that it has the yin and the yang, the dark and the light, the big and the small, or the small and the big. And that's what it's designed to kind of have those highs and lows, and I think that is within each of us, that high and low, that Malfoy character or that Harry Potter character, the decent and the less than decent, indecent, and this game is going to, I think, continue to play itself out in that way, and you can get caught up in the hubbub of Brexit and immigration issues and the hubbub of Trump and Podesta and Pizzagate and pedophilia and all of these things, the banking and the vaccinations, or vaccinations as we say here. You can get caught up in all of those things and lost in that. So we constantly fighting at each other. Even the vegetarianisms and the veganisms. As I've started saying, I think the only ism you should have is an orgasm. The other isms are groups and clubs that get too much into going, no, you can't do this, and yes, you must do that, And I mean, at the end of the day, that's exactly what we despise about this system that we are born to, is that it's telling us how to live our lives and doing things in back rooms, in dark corners, all the way out in the galaxy near Uranus. They're doing these dark and sweaty, nasty things that are causing us to become these beasts, these Sodom and Gomorrah specimens that are not much better than mere non-player characters, the NPCs, and we have to have a higher ethic than that. We have to have a higher ambition than that, I think, and but you see it. I see, someone who I admire very much. He's got caught up with this gangster business in America, and it's like, come on, man. This is, again, it's just another one of those things that's designed to get people disloving. So I think we have to find a way to set that aside, knowing that it's there and acknowledging. I mean, at the end of the day, I do not want to sit down and break bread with the Malfoy. I'm not interested in playing nicely with the Julian Assanges of these. Well, at the end of the day, you can talk till you're blue in the face to these folks. It seems like that the path that they're on, that they've chosen, is one that there's one that is of the dark path, and I'm not going to cry over that or concern myself over that. That's about acknowledging that there is the dark path, and I could choose the dark path in any decision you're making throughout the course of your day and your life. Are we going to hold a group of people to account for something? Are we going to get caught up in the government's myriad of traps that are designed to hold your mind in some sense of competition against your brother, your sister? I have to say that's seems to me everything that they've ever tried to do to me is to get me to dislike myself and to dislike the world and those around me in the world. Not, cleverly, not the ones that look like me or sound like me or play the same sport as me or team as me. Not those, just the other ones. And just that, the guy next door has more than I have, better car or whatever. Just that, nothing more than that. That's what they want. And I see the evidence of these older people around me, and not even the older people, but people becoming smaller and smaller of mind, smaller and smaller of heart. And if we are an energetic heart, and we are putting our energy into this earth heart, then we are putting lesser and lesser light, lesser and lesser energy into this heart. I don't know whether that has some metaphysical meaning and whether it leads to something else, but it doesn't feel to me to be leading in the right direction like that. So this is what I have to do is to realize that there are dark forces constantly always looking to pull at you, always looking to draw you in, offer you the casino, offer you the sweet loan or the opportunity to feel smug about something or to feel like somebody's taking something from you. Yeah, it's almost biblical, it's almost like scriptural, it's almost Christian in its thinking, but or in its expression. That it is about, forgiving those who know not what they do and turning the other cheek. Oh, and putting boundaries up. Yeah. Those that are, so I don't read the Guardian newspaper anymore. And I don't, take on the BBC and the Sky News and the CNN and the Al Jazeera, France 24. I mean, I used to take them all on board. I don't take them on board, and I protect myself from that. And actually, I was listening to somebody the other day. I won't name the channel. No, I will name the channel. I think he can handle it, and it's unlikely he would ever hear this anyway. John the Morgal. I think he's a legit guy, but I guess it's hard to know with anyone, I suppose. But the point is, he was dealing with he in his power and strength deals with things like people making debunking videos against his work or him or whatever, and then he in return needs to make a response video to that. And I was listening to a little bit of it, a few minutes of it, and also reading through some of the comments, and the vitriol that comes from the ballers and that we give to the ballers, and the kind of in that squabble, it's like, wow, so we have realized this divine thing, and yet we're still squabbling like materialist monkeys. And as my exceptionally well-read wife just said, is that what you put out, you deal you get what you deal. It's a boomerang effect. What you put out, you get back. And I learned that as a youngish manager. I maybe lost my cool in a meeting with a guy one time and said fuck, blah, blah, blah. And because I'd said fuck, he was like, that opened the door for him to say fuck back at me. So, it's so easy to get caught in that because, here we are, we got people loving to take pot shots at us. And that's what this system designed in, right? It knew that there were going to be people who could see through some of the bullshit and start to work this stuff out, but it needed to make sure that there was a troll army ready to kind of hold them back. And whilst I think it's important that there are those who stay back and fight at the troll army, and try and convert from that army those that are gonna, I wouldn't ask anyone to do that, because I think that we should actually be walking forward, not facing backwards, facing these guys who want to hold us back in the pit of squabble, the pit of fighting, in the pit of disagreement. But there's just so many focus groups and groups of interest who, it's our matter, our country flag, our independence, our, animal rights, or whatever. There's just the weather people. So no one's really on the same page. No one's really, because they've all got their kind of thing. And that's why I really can't, stick the flat earth flag on my back and go, listen to me, the earth is flat, because I know that that's so well ingrained now. I see it. People are primed, much more so than a year ago. People are primed to take the defensive position, almost in a religious way, but to take the defensive position of the science that we've all been brought up on. So I can't do that. I mean, obviously, people have to know that the Earth is flat. There's no getting around that, right? It's a no-brainer. This thing works. The moon works in a way that can't be explained by the model that the ball earthers propone. In fact, that's why the ball earthers will always demand a model from you, because that's all they have. That's all they have, is a model. They don't have anything that works in reality. So they will be ignorant. They will be ignore-ants. Ants that ignore the reality, which is how that things are level, water is level, things are not moving observably, and as far as we can test and measure, things on the ground are not moving. So they keep pushing guys to show us the model. And I'm saying I've even got my own little model, or a few models that I kind of think. I have. No, well, I just wanted to, this is something I had to say. I just wanted to say that I don't think we should be, my wife's telling me I've lost the plot. I don't think that we should be so vexated on the models, but why the ballers will push you for a model forever is because that's all they have. They only have a model of how it might work. They don't have reality. They don't have water running up balls. They don't have people able to kind of mimic walking underneath things or on the side of things by the use of some kind of clever force. They don't have that. Whereas, we, as I say, you can just look around you at a river and a lake and so on to see how things work on a flat plane. Anyway, I did go off course there. Sorry for that. I probably been talking long enough anyway. Hey, Rambo. Hi, man. Yeah, always good to see you too. I have my glasses on for. Hi, Mark. How you going, mate? Rudy and Drew and hey, Red Eye. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I'm. Oh, Moinek, hi. The what does it say? The more we avoid the struggle, the greater the struggle becomes, and we keep on struggling until we realize the struggle is the blessing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you think that we have this divine place elsewhere, then we've obviously come here for a purpose, a journey, a learning, an experience, and a test. And I think the way that humanity is at the moment is it's not in a shape to be kind of anything other than farmed in the way that it is. I hate to say that, but that's in a bad way. And people, when you look around, are absolutely dependent on the system to provide them with their medicine. And I'm dependent on the system for my food. Make no words about it. But, that has been created, and intentionally so. So I'm seeking to go in the opposite direction, of course. And hopefully we can find a way to do that, and take along a few people with us as we go. Yeah. Anyway, I won't make this too long because I'm sure you've got plenty to do, and I do too. Hey, hi, Jen. How you going, mate? It's funny enough, your name or your face came into my mind yesterday or this morning, sometime in the last 24 hours. Funny enough, so it's nice to see you. It says science is fake news. They're pushing black hole science. Oops. Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, yeah, that's again, the science thing is being pushed, and they're either trying to cover up what's going on with the flat Earth, or they're trying to encourage people to go and look at flat Earth, or they're trying to see. That's why I sometimes think they've got a much longer term agenda than just a few years' time, because they're still trying to push this crap, and they've still got a Mars mission in the future, and they've still. So, conspiracy search engine said free Gaza, and I saw that and I thought, it isn't Gaza just again one of those created little wounds, little cancers that has been set up by agreement with the various parties to create the status of that. I mean, I think about, because so much has been able to the state of Israel has been able to justify to its own people and to the world and its backers in America and so on. It's been able to justify the militarization in the way that it has of its existence, because in part of because of the Gaza question. And of course, it would seem from some researchers' perspective that the Greater Israel Project, the sort of Zionist greater plan of Israel is from the Euphrates to the Ganges or the Tiber. That project is ongoing, and the Americans are building a thing there, aren't there? And they're trying to bring some temple back, and there is like a meta agenda that's happening behind the scenes, which has the sort of Jewish religion in is part of its sort of toolkit, is how it's bringing this about. And of course, a lot of Christians think that the state of Israel and the Jews as we know them today are the Israelites of the Bible, and that they should be entitled to this holy land, and so on and so forth. So it's a very vexed question, but I think it's one of those things that's used intentionally to create the the excuses and the reasons for the actions you see there. So that's not going to go away, and nor is the banking system going to go away, nor is the political class going to go away. Not in the current paradigm. They're not going to give that up, and it's too well entrenched. And I'm sure that their ploy or their plan or their thing, whether we're to create it or they've got their own way of creating this, and an ever tighter Orwellian Darwinian kind of mindset. That's well underway and well entrenched. So I don't think that needs to be. Again, that's just, I've been in Hyde Park, Speaker's Corner, when they've had a Palestinian Free Palestine march, and those people are all on their bandwagon blowing their whistles and so on, and they're busy with that and not noticing the things that other people are noticing, and so everybody's just busy with their little hobby horse, when in fact they're all part of the same grand scheme. So to say, you want to get rid of one thing whilst we still believe that fossil fuel is the only way to power our energy sources, or it's wind farm and all this other wasted energy. It's all intertwined, it's all interlinked, and they want you at war. And I was going to say, here's an interesting reference, like in South Africa, for example, the Europeans came in there, as we understand our history, a few hundred years ago, and some parts of Southern Africa, and maybe not all of Southern Africa, but some parts of Southern Africa were populated by tribal people who had no interest in democracy as a system of rule. They had a pretty good system operating before. But what they did was they came in and offered those that were party to the democracy, i.e. the white folks, and a few selected others, they offered them services and, cheap loans and things like that. And so before long, black people were saying, or the tribal people were saying, oh, well, you're using up this land of ours, and you're doing this, and you're doing that, and you're giving all of these, whatever, opportunities and baubles to these white folks. Clamor at the door. We want some of that too, please. Well, then, why don't you set up a political party who can represent you? And that political party will be will have to kind of come to our clubs and join our thing and become a member of our thing, but they will represent you. And because you have the majority, then eventually you will be in power. And so they basically got the black or tribal people of Southern Africa to demand that they be included in the democracy club, not realizing that that is a trap all in its own. So the same with the suffragette movement. They were really interested in, really they wanted to make women demand to come and, that's where they create that situation. We demand to be allowed rights, just like the men. Well, rights are given to you by who? So you're actually demanding to be minimized by the state, when in fact they had less hold of you when you were not voting. I mean, obviously they created these situations where men had much more power or control over their wives and so on, but still, it was the state cleverly getting the people to demand that they got led into a club of control. And we live now in a world in which most people are so bought into that control system. We could call it Stockholm Syndrome, but like the boiling frogs, they can't see it and they can't feel it. Not very much, but they just go along with it. I was talking to a chap yesterday, gently red-pilling him. Didn't say flat earth. Did talk about the moon. And saying like how, if you dialed the clock back 100, 150 years and showed the people of the day the amount of legislation, regulation, and control over the things that we can do, can't do, how we can move, where we can move, and so on, they would They would be absolutely dumbfounded. Yeah, they might be impressed by some of the technology, but they'd be like, but you live under a control grid that is way more than the Nazi state was back in the 1930s. And people don't really notice it anymore. So how are we going to see that change? People are going to continue, it seems to me for now anyway, continue appealing to the authorities, those authorities who've given out baubles, and appeal to them for more permission to do things and more this and more that. And I don't see a way out of it right now. I don't see that the system can be changed right now. It's so far down that road. It's really down to the individual to find a way for them and their family to extricate and to find a way to descale the level of systemic control that is over the mind, body, and soul. So I did waffle on a bit there. I should get my we create, they destroy. We want peace, they want war. There's more of us than of them, but we are divided by the sleeping. Yeah. What did conspiracy? What are you saying, man? They will never trust you. Superiority. I'm not quite sure. All religion is division. Yeah. All religion has. I mean, I think they hide the good stuff in there too, but of course, religion is just another tool of control, isn't it? I mean, in a way, I wonder again whether it matters. Just because the amount of good people I see who have seen so many of these truths, but yet want to cling on to a book that was given to us once upon a time by some men who were Freemasons, probably. So I just and when it comes to the issue of religion, I wonder whether if I buy into that idea, hook, line, and sinker, that all religion is control, and I go around telling people that all religion is control, then they stop listening to me, or you. And I think I wonder whether we shouldn't be, looking to make our way forward together, despite those differences. Yeah, because there's cultural differences and there's, other differences that, in what people eat and so on. There's a variety of things that are differences, and people are often talking about how, the Sharia law aspects of Islam are good or bad, or so there are loads of points of difference, and the vegetarian will say that I'm not eating the right food, and the vegan will say I'm to this, or the vaccine mum saying, you must vaccinate, or you 1,000 points of judgment, 1,000 points of darkness. And we could find these forever and a day. And then when the wind stops, when the wind changes direction, when the wind starts blowing in a different direction, if there's a change, a shift or whatever, then where are we at that point? Are we still standing in the speaker's corner, squabbling at each other? Blah, 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 blah. My this, you're that. The people who run this are doing this, and I'm defending the banks, or you're defending the pharmacology industry, or the airline industry, or whatever other agenda we're covering or anti. all along we'll have forgotten our connection, our brotherhood. So, my friends, I think that that's something we must think about long and hard. Is that do we want to keep squabbling with people because shit, people are caught up in their trenches, and I mean, I'm like a lot of folks who found flat Earth, who thought, gee, this becomes after a few months of really head scratching and looking at things and so on. And this is back in 2015, so there wasn't such a huge amount of people that were saying it, but still, after a few months, you're like, shit, when this gets out, when I tell my friends, when the world gets to know, and it'll be soon, that it will bring people to see the world and the truth about the deception that's going on around us. That's obviously not happening, and that's obviously not the way it's going. I know that there's a trend upwards. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm listening to a conversation as I go past it in the street, thinking, oh, imagine if I hear them talking about flat Earth, and I can actually join in the conversation for a little while. It's not quite that it's not quite that big yet, and even if it is to get that big, I think people are going to hold to their balls like a religion. That's what they're going to do, man. That's what you see, don't you? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, some people have known that the flat Earth is a possible, or that the NASA are lying about a whole lot of stuff, and people are still not willing to go there. So, what are we going to do about it, friends? Are we going to go, okay, well, we've got to have two camps. We're going to have the flatties and the ballers. We're going to have that too. And then we'll have the black ones over there, and the Muslim ones over there. And the other ones over there. I've got a feeling that we've got to lift ourselves higher than that. That just seems to me to be, because as I was saying earlier on, when we got lost, I was listening to the John the Morgal thing, and no, I'm not trying to knock the man at all, but I am saying that when I listened to some of that content the other day, or got into my mind into that squabble, and I've been there. In fact, my son saw me the other day, like dealing with some negative comments, and he could tell from my face that I was having a bit of a hard time dealing with that. I was like, shit. Is that what we've come all this way for? Is to stay in the squabble, stay in the fight, disliking one another because he said this, or he's supporting that model, or whatever, and I can't see that that's very enlightened. I think we have to be higher than that, better than that, and shine our light brighter than that, and if anything, when I get involved in a squabble with someone who can't see their ass from their Uranus, then I'm just kind of held in that lower vibration place, and system seems to be that's what they want. So, hey ho, they're winning, and if there are agents in flat Earth who are designed to keep the conversation going, keep it moving along, and so on, and then they very much want to be a part of, not specifically, but they would very much be, happy for there to be this dissent, this, just let's hammer people, let's get into camps and call them names and so on. Guilty of that myself. So, I'm not claiming to be higher than anyone else, but I'm seeking what is the right way forward. And I'm not saying I wouldn't stand in the street, and I hope to, and I plan to stand in the street and say to people, hey, you need to look into these things, because people are owed the truth. I think this has always been what I've felt, is that it's going to make me look crazy, but people are owed the truth, and I'll continue to do that. But do I want to keep playing the same, kicking my shin against the same thick-skulled kind of mindset? That's my own thick-skulled mindset, because it's like hammer, 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 3-4 years down the line, and hammer, hammer, hammer. The thing that works best in my house, and the thing that seems to work best in my heart, is when I'm resonating on good stuff, love, and wah, 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 you know. And this is not me going, oh, let's be, like the 1% movement or whatever. What were they called? The bank, when they were the Occupy movement. Fuck me, if that's not a controlled movement, I don't know what is. But they're kind of playing nice with the system, like the system just needs a little tweaking here, or we need to get rid of a few little bits of banking there or whatever. No, my friends, this system is Sodom and Gomorrah. This system is the antithesis of what is the loving natural system that we come from and we should be a part of. But you can choose that. And if you want for this entire, I live in London, so if you want for this entire London 7 million or 5 million, don't know whatever people, to kind of turn a switch and become like, hey, yeah, the banking system is a complete scam and it's, straw man and this and that. You want that? That's just not happening. I mean, people have been banging these hobby horses for 10 and 20 years. That's not happening. It's not going away. The only thing that can change is you. The only thing that can change is you. So I'm going to go now, because that's probably enough. I hope you have a super day.